Welcome back. Today we are going to go over creating a project in Claude Code and pushing it to GitHub, all done from within a pod. We'll then use that very same pod to test and iterate on our code. This means that everything we do is done from within a pod itself, meaning everything you do is safe and sound in secure cloud with a network volume attached. In this video, we are going to go over a few key setup tasks, and by the end, this is what you'll know how to do. You'll be able to set up and install Claude Code within a pod, understand how to work with Claude Code to scope a project, use Claude Code to create a project that utilizes GPU with the instance, and then push that project to GitHub to ensure we can revert changes if we need to. Claude Code is Anthropic's official command line AI coding assistant that brings the power of Claude directly into your terminal. You can think of it as an AI pair programmer that can actually write, edit, and execute code on your behalf. Prior to Claude Code, a lot of AI-assisted coding workflows involved copying and pasting, which means you would manually search out whatever functions you want to replace, and then manually paste or otherwise modify your changes, which is messy and error-prone. What makes this approach particularly powerful is the fact that it is tool-based, which means it can do things like file editing, bash commands, and web search, and it can chain all these together to accomplish complex tasks. And this is a very recent addition, but it also creates checkpoints before editing files so you can revert if you need to. But here's the critical part. While Claude Code has these built-in safety features, they're session-based and don't persist. That's why we're coupling it with Git in this tutorial. Git becomes your permanent safety net, your time machine for code. Commit often, and you'll always have a way back. So yes, this is using AI to write code, and with a lot of AI things, this is proving to be controversial, especially with what we might see on social media. And the internet is going to do what it does best and polarize people on the topic, so I'm going to give you my personal opinion about how to use it safely and responsibly in a way that ensures that the AI part is a force multiplier the way it should be. So on one end, you've got what critics call vibe coding, where developers just spam prompts, accept whatever the AI generates, and end up with a code base they fundamentally don't understand. And that's a person who ships code to production without being able to explain what any of it does, who can't debug things when they break, and who's essentially outsourced their thinking to an algorithm. That's reckless and not particularly sustainable. On the other end, you've got people who refuse to touch AI tools at all, insisting that if you didn't type every character yourself, you're not a real developer. And the funny thing is, even if you did, you'd still find a critic complains you didn't do it in a lower level language. Anyway, just completely disregarding AI is leaving those productivity gains on the table and ignoring the reality that development has always involved leveraging new tools like IDEs to Stack Overflow to library documentation. And it reminds me of that Carl Sagan quote that well predates present-day AI that's along the lines of, if you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. We all build on layers and layers of what came before us. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, and here's my framework for it. Use AI to accelerate what you already understand, not to replace understanding. All right, I've rambled enough on that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to pods, and we will select an H100 to start. We'll change our template to the most recent PyTorch version. And we'll just give ourselves some more space just to be on the safe side. And we'll set overrides. And then deploy. And we'll just wait for it to come up. Okay, to make this a little bit easier, I've actually split this up into two different windows. Just so you can have your file browser and a terminal on the left, as well as a terminal on the right. And the one on the right is where we'll actually install Claude. So we will just make that bigger. And we have a command to install it that I will link in the description. So we'll just right click and paste. And once you see that's done, it's going to give you a second command to run. And this is important. I won't be able to find it otherwise. So we'll just right click that and click paste. And then we can type Claude to start. We'll just set a preferred way to display text. And personally, I am using a pro account. We'll go over the pros and cons of the different plans or using the API access later on. But for now, since I am using a pro account, we'll just select this option to log in. The attempt to open up a browser is going to fail. Then we can just copy and paste this. And we're going to click authorize. And it's going to give us a code that we can paste back into Claude Code. And login is successful. So we are now actually logged in and we can begin doing some pretty cool stuff with this. It's going to ask us if we want to trust the files in this folder. This is just within a pod, so we don't have to worry about anything breaking out into our local PC, because you'll notice that it does give you a warning that Claude Code can read, write, and execute files contained in the directory you give permission to. So that's really important. If you are running this on a local machine, you want to be very careful about the permissions you give it. But we're in a pod. There's absolutely no concern here, so we'll say yes. And we are ready to get going. And to give it a test, what we'll do is we'll just say, make me a hello world in Python. Just give it a sec to think. We will allow all edits. And if we refresh, you'll see that there's a hello.py. And in our other terminal, we'll just run Python 3 hello.py. And there we go. It's up and running. All right, next we'll set up a repo in GitHub. So we'll go to the plus sign, the new repository, and we'll just give it a name like my Runpod project. Then create a repo. All right, now that we're here, we'll also need to set up a personal access token. So we'll go to settings, then developer settings, personal access tokens. We have the option of creating a fine grained token or a classic token. For this basic example, we use classic. And we will generate a new token. Give it a name. And we'll give it repo access. And we'll copy that. And now that we're back in our environment, we'll just say create a readme.md for this script for GitHub. And in our other window, we will, right now we're ready to start configuring Git. So we'll type in git config global user.name in your name, git config global user email, your email, git init. That will create our repository, and then we can type git add dot. That will add everything in the folder to the repo. Then git commit -m, initial commit. Then git remote add origin, and the URL of the repo, project.git. It will be to make sure that's there. And then it's time to push. Oh, would help if I spelled it right. And then we'll type in our username. And for the password, we will paste the token that we created. And now if we go back into GitHub and then go to my Runpod project, you can see that it actually pushed from our pod down into our repo. So there you have it. That's really all you need to do to commit and push from your pod into GitHub itself. All right, now this part of the video is going to be a little unscripted because I'm going to be walking you through using Claude Code, and I don't know how it's going to react when I ask those questions. I mean, I've got an idea, but I'm going to be doing this by the seat of my pants. So let's say that we want to change the hello world to actually use CUDA instead of just being a simple Python print statement. So we're going to ask, I want to do a hello world using CUDA instead of just a print. What are my options? And plan mode like this is great for asking it questions without actually having it do any changes. And now that it's finished planning, it's given us several options. We will go with its recommendation. And scrolling up to look at its output, it's actually not making any changes yet, but it's telling us what it's going to do instead of just doing it. So this is great for letting it think through a code base or examine something, rather than just trusting it to make the change right off the bat. So now that we're looking at its plan, it's going to see that it's going to print the GPU info using CUDA. It's going to create an array, copy to device, run kernel, copy back. Then it's going to create a requirements.txt so anyone else that downloads a repo can easily install any dependencies that's needed. So we'll install dependencies, run the script, and then it's going to show us what it expects the output to be, and based on what I can see, it looks pretty accurate. So we will hit yes to allow. And let's run it and see how it works. So we can see that Claude gave us a warning about a potential message that might come up, and it looks like it did. I don't think that's going to impact anything. And it's going to say hello from the GPU, and it will show that it's showing an array. And let's take a look at the code and see what it's actually doing. If we open up the code, we can see that, again, it looks like Claude did what it said it was going to do. It set the GPU using current device. It printed out the name of it, printed out its compute capability. But let's ask Claude what that actually means. So you're not actually limited to using Claude just as a code agent. Now, obviously, we know that was referring to the architecture that the GPU is using, but it goes to show that you don't have to tab back to Claude itself. You can just ask Claude Code anything that you might want to know about, and it will very happily tell you. So now that we're content and everything is working, we'll git add dot git commit to the version update. We'll now uses GPU, and then git push, and we will re-enter our credentials here. And if we refresh our repo, we will see it right there. So now that we've gone through capabilities, here's what will cost you as a single user. You can access Claude Code using just API credits. Minimum deposit is $5, which is going to be the absolute cheapest way you can test out the service. But be advised, this is also the least cost-efficient way on a per-token basis. If you really, really want to limit your initial outlay so you can determine whether it will work for you technically, this will do the job. But if you're going to use it at all past that, I would really recommend signing up for Release Pro. Pro is $20 a month, and you should be able to get a solid 2 to 4 hours per day out of it. So if you're working on a personal project or experimenting, this should work great for you. Max has two plans at $100 and $200 price points. And the $200 plan gives you about 20 times the rate limit over Pro, which is the most efficient per token cost, assuming you use it enough. But doing so will probably be an all-day effort. Lastly, you can use a Claude Code terminal app with an Anthropic-compatible API using something like Ollama and bring your own model with something like Qwen 3. This could be potentially an even cheaper option, and you can run that right on Runpod. Though be advised that the quality of the outputs can vary widely from model to model. However, you should be able to use the app just like I demonstrated in this video, and it will work just fine from a technical standpoint. And to just kind of round out our intro discussion of Claude, I just want to point out they do have 3 models, each with different levels of cost and capabilities and cost per token. Higher end models will cause you to reach your cap much quicker. You really need to use each model to understand their specific capabilities, and this is something you'll develop intuition for over time. The general rule of thumb, though, is to start small and work your way up. Although in this video, I happen to use Opus for my example. For the simple task that I showed, you could have very easily used Haiku instead. I would say that on your 3rd or so consecutive attempt where you feel you run to a roadblock, that's a pretty good sign you should move up to the next model and see if you can fix it. So yeah, thanks for watching the intro. We had to get through the basics to get into really interesting stuff, but that's going to be coming later this week. We'll walk through basic app development, bringing your own model, and understanding agents in the future videos that should be coming out shortly. This is just the tip of the iceberg, so I hope you stick around for the rest. Thanks.